Do you sometimes beat yourself up about how good your playing is? You realise that you're probably sabotaging yourself when you do this, and that it's totally unnecessary. By the end of this video, you'll know how to separate constructive ideas from improvement from damaging self-criticism, and you'll know how to reduce the damaging stuff. The students who I've coached through this report playing at their best more consistently, less frustration with their progress, and just more enjoyment of music overall. Now, you probably think that the way to get better is to find flaws in your playing so that you can fix them. And this is certainly true, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do this. It's possible that you start out with the best of intentions and then end up sabotaging yourself in the process. Objective feedback without emotion attached to it, so you're just seeing mistakes as mistakes rather than a good thing or a bad thing, is really helpful and is a vital part of the learning process. But sometimes things can tip over into much more negative self-criticism, where we do really attach that bad label to things that we see as mistakes or areas where we're not as good. And this can be a real problem. It can reduce your confidence and self-belief, so that actually in the moment where you're experiencing these thoughts, you play worse. It can reduce your motivation to keep playing, to keep practicing. It can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. You start to think that you're bad at something just because of one particular example, and you start to grow into that, make that the reality. And in many ways, bigger than all of these, it can just downright ruin your enjoyment of playing the music that you love. You need to understand that thoughts are just thoughts. They're not necessarily true just because you have these thoughts, and you don't have to accept them. A great way to think about this is imagine that someone else who you don't actually know at all came up to you and said these things that you're thinking. Would you believe them? Would you pay any attention to them? Now, if you notice a thought and it's simply not true, then just disregard it. And if it might be true, then have a look and see how you can take the emotion out of it. How can you stop it being about good things, bad things, and just about feedback? And the really big point here is that you need to start being aware, noticing these thoughts. Because once you're aware of them, then you can reduce them. And don't judge yourself if you find this happening. Don't feel down about it. This is just totally normal stuff for humans to have to deal with. We all get these thoughts. The thing is just to notice it and to deal with it. And it may really help here if you've got written down a store of facts about your past achievements that you can use. And they want to be really concrete successes with measurable results or specific feedback from other people. Because telling yourself something general like, I'm a really good player, can be helpful and fine when things are going well. But if things aren't going so well, then you're going to find you're probably not just going to believe it. Whereas if you've got some facts there, someone told me you played really well tonight, or whatever that was, your mind can't dispute those. They just happened. Let's look quickly at the different forms of self-criticism that you might come across. First up, there's you criticising yourself directly out loud. Now, this is probably going to happen when you're in the practice room on the stage. Not a lot of people get up there on stage and start shouting at themselves, but you might have seen this a lot in sports. Athletes, players who kind of do something wrong and get angry, shout at themselves. It's exactly that sort of thing. Should be really pretty easy to spot, very easy to notice yourself doing it, and you just have to resolve not to do that sort of thing anymore. It's not helpful. Then there's when you criticise yourself out loud but to other people, and this is most likely to happen just after you've given a performance. You're talking to someone else. And it's really easy to feel like actually this is just you being modest rather than self-critical. But it's really important that you don't put yourself down in these words. Even if you think, oh, I'm not believing it, I'm just being modest, it can be really unhelpful. Furthermore, think about it this way. If someone's just come up to you and paid you a compliment about your playing, turning it back and saying, oh, I wasn't that great, or talking about something else that you did wrong is actually disrespecting their opinion, and you don't want to do that. If you really struggle with responding in those situations, my favourite response is just to say thank you. Literally just that, nothing else. Thank you, don't add anything, leave it at that. Easy, not horrendously immodest, and it stops you from unnecessary self-criticism. And finally, we've got self-talk. So these are the voices that you hear in your head, not the crazy ones, just your thoughts, your inner monologue. And this happens a lot more than we tend to realise. We're not always very good at noticing what's going on there. So take some time over the next few days to tune in to the thoughts that you hear going around in your head. You might be surprised how constant they are and often how just vicious and unhelpful they can be. And it's really hard work to change these, to disregard these, but it's really worthwhile because you can have this constant barrage of negativism that actually drags people down a lot more than they realise. Now, sometimes people come to me and talk about this and say, but it's true, I really am that bad. Now, firstly, I doubt this. As it turns out, we as humans tend to do a lot more of the negative self-criticism, noticing bad things about us than we do about the good things. So often just there's an imbalance of that. And I'll put a link below to an article about this. So first of all, we're probably not giving ourselves enough credit for how good we are. But secondly, if that's you thinking I really am this bad, I want you to think about whether that's helpful or not. Because this is not about denying the truth, it's about looking at things in a way that's helpful. And again, if you put a lot of negative emotion into that, thinking about how you're bad, that's really going to weigh you down. Whereas if you take the same observations and you turn them just into objective feedback, here are the areas where I could improve. And you start to think about, how do I make a plan, not just for sitting there going, oh, I'm rubbish at this, but what can I work on to make that better? Now that's taking that sort of observation and turning it into a positive. Now I definitely recommend checking out my video on the quality of your practice time if you're further interested in silencing self-criticism by making rapid progress. Also, there is no better time than the present to get started on building a list of positive things about your playing. So let me know in the comments below right now one positive fact about your playing. And if you want the special practice and performance tips that I only share with subscribers, then head on over to playinthezone.com and sign up for the emails. They're free. I've been Mark Morley-Fletcher. Thanks so much for watching. Please click below to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and while you're down there, why not hit the share button as well to pass this on to other musicians. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.